After more than 3 decades, Robert Mugabe says he's willing to give up his day job. As Zimbabwe's longest-serving president, he's promised to hand over power should he lose Wednesday's election. The 89-year-old has held office since 1980 when he became the country's first black president and managed to cling to power ever since while gaining a reputation for corruption. But that could all change, as more than 6 million Zimbabweans are expected to head to the polls in a tight race pitting Mugabe against his rival, Prime Minister Morgan Tsvangirai. And for the first time in his 33 years in office, Mugabe has said he'll step down if he loses. Still, the ever-defiant autocrat seems confident of a victory, telling reporters he'd fight like a wounded animal until he wins.
A journalist asked him, he's 89 years old, is he going to serve out the entire 5 years of his term if he wins? And Robert Mugabe's response was, why not?
The Economist writes, the campaign has been bombastic, but here he is all charm. He plays the model Democrat. But it hasn't always been that way. Tsvangirai has repeatedly accused Mugabe of rigging the election, a familiar accusation lobbed at the president, who once again denies any wrongdoing. The two men have squared off before, both in 2002 and 2008. In that last election, Tsvangirai actually won most of the votes, but chose not to participate in a runoff after 200 members of his party were killed in a violent crackdown. Human rights groups are fearing a repeat.
We're very seriously concerned about the potential for widespread violence if the election result does not go President Mugabe's way. As we saw in 2008, when he lost the first round of elections, we saw widespread killings.
This time around, an international relations expert at the University of London explains what's at stake. Many feel that Tsvangirai has been complacent. Mugabe, old and frail, is still relatively presidential, and he continues to draw on reserves of respect and affection. Still, Mugabe's presided over more than a decade-long economic crisis. An estimated 80% of Zimbabweans are below the poverty line. Agricultural output has plummeted, and hyperinflation has led Zimbabwe to scrap its currency in favor of the U.S. dollar. But according to The Telegraph, the solution is an easy fix, as all Zimbabwe needs is a government of only moderate corruption and incompetence, at least capable of making a handful of sensible decisions. The latest polls had the two tied around 45% each. Official results are expected within the next several days. For Newsy, I'm Megan Murphy.